it's Rachel. So I wanted to hop on really quick to let you know that I made it back from my solo trip in Japan. It was absolutely fantastic. I highly recommend going to Japan alone if you don't have family or friends to go with you. It's incredibly safe, beautiful. There's so much to see and do, and I'm already planning another trip to go back. So with all that being said, I wanted to talk about one of the most popular destinations in Japan, which is Kyoto. My first thing that I want you to keep in mind, though, with a solo trip to Kyoto has to do with over tourism. In recent months, there's been a lot of really sad information coming out of Kyoto with tourists misbehaving, and it's just really and truly something that you need to be aware of when you visit here. Really, as a solo traveler, my first piece of advice is please be on your best behavior. For example, if you see a geisha, which, if you're familiar with the movie Memoirs of a Geisha, they're performers, they have the extravagant makeup, the hair, the kimonos, all that. If you see geisha going to and from work, please don't take photographs. Don't try to touch the kimono without permission. I mean, that's kind of a creepy thing to do anyway. Like, you never touch somebody without permission, but it has actually been an issue in recent weeks. So just please, when you see the geisha out in public, be respectful of them, no photography. They are just going to and from work, and think about how you would feel. You don't want people shoving cameras in your face when you're doing your morning commute. So be respectful of the geisha. Another thing is, as you wander Kyoto, you will see that there is some signage up in certain neighborhoods. For example, not to take pictures or to go down certain streets. And it is really, really clear where you can and cannot go. So just respect the rules. You can avoid a lot of trouble just by being mindful of the rules in place. Another way of being respectful is to have proper temple etiquette. Keep in mind the temples, although they're beautiful and open to the public, they are places of worship. So be mindful of any signs that say no photography, no video, and respect those around you. Don't be too loud and obnoxious or anything like that. And also, when it comes to the temples, make sure that you bring cash with you. The vast majority of temples don't accept credit card, and there very rarely are ATMs. Like, to be honest, I don't think I saw a single ATM at any of the temples in Kyoto. So always stop at a 7-Eleven beforehand and make sure you have cash if you do want to buy something there. Something else I feel like I need to say about Kyoto and Japan in general is, although it's a very safe destination, it can be a little lonely if you don't plan your days right. The Japanese, they're awesome. They're lovely. I met a lot of wonderful locals in Kyoto and outside the city as well in different places, but they won't really approach you in the street to have a random conversation. And a lot of this has to do with a lot of locals, they may not be 100% confident with their English speaking skills. And also, if everything's fine, if you seem to be just going about your day as normal, nobody's going to just come up to you and strike a conversation out of the blue. With that said, though, if you need help or are in distress, you will get help. Like, Japanese people, they will fall all over themselves to help you if you need it. But if everything's fine, they'll just kind of leave you alone. And for some travelers, that can be very lonely and isolating. But the good thing about Kyoto is because it's such a popular tourist destination, yeah, you have that over tourism, which kind of sucks, but you also have a lot of great tours that you can take as well as hostels, so it's a little easier to meet other travelers. Personally, I recommend going on a food tour where you can really connect with others, as well as a history walk or maybe even a tea ceremony, which is something I did and absolutely loved. And that way, having a couple of group activities thrown into the mix, you'll feel a lot less lonely on your solo trip to Kyoto. Want to address any language barrier issues. Now, something to keep in mind if you're coming from the United States, Canada, Australia, or any other English speaking country, you'll be fine with just English navigating Kyoto. Now, of course, if you speak a little Japanese, that's fantastic and feel free to use it. But for a solo traveler, getting by on English is absolutely fine. To be honest, I was a little worried about the language barrier myself, especially since I was going to be using the trains and buses on my own. But really, it was perfectly fine. Super duper easy. For the fast trains coming from Tokyo or Hiroshima, you can buy those train tickets right at the station, unless it's a holiday weekend, in which case you want to book far in advance. However, if you have a lot of luggage, you need to be able to store that luggage, and luggage space needs to be reserved ahead of time. So let's shift gears for a bit. I know a lot of people think about coming to Kyoto and they're immediately like, I want to come for cherry blossom season. Or I want to go in October when all of the fall colors are vibrant and beautiful. So, Kyoto, I mentioned, has a lot of tourists, and this can be a good thing if you're looking to meet other travelers. However, cherry blossom season in Kyoto, the thought of those crowds gives me anxiety. Like, I've heard horror stories about this, guys. I know the weather is a lot better in spring and fall, but you're going to pay for that with massive crowds. And if you're looking to have that solo spiritual experience in Kyoto, that may not be the time of year for you. So you definitely want to choose your time of year wisely, as well as the time of day that you're going to do your sightseeing. Even as a solo traveler, I get it. You're just one person. What's one more person? But if you want this to be a great trip and you have a certain image in your head, it's really smart to plan in advance. So, I'm not a fan of swearing on this channel, but there's no other way to put it, and I'm fully intending to get some shit for it. But traveling to Kyoto during rainy season, the end of June and early July, was a really awesome time. Now, okay, the weather could be rough at times. It was a little hot, it was a little humid, but temples are absolutely stunning in the rain and the mist. And what made it even better was the lack of crowds. I could enjoy all of the major sites and I never really felt overwhelmed with people all around me. So I had a chance to enjoy that spiritual side of Kyoto without the overwhelming crowds. So if you're willing to put up with some hot and humid weather and a bit of rain, the end of June and early July could be a great time for you to go, truly. Another way to avoid crowds is to see the most popular sites like the Golden Temple super early in the morning, and then venture to some of the quieter temples in the middle of the afternoon when everything else is really busy. There are so many temples in Kyoto, so do your research in advance and try to find some of those temples that don't get as much publicity. You definitely won't regret it. Last but not least, I do want to touch on safety a little bit. Now, in Kyoto, you really don't have much to worry about as far as your physical safety is concerned. I went out as a solo female traveler at night to a lot of the bars and restaurants, and I had no problems whatsoever. However, it is always a smart idea to share your itinerary with friends and family. If you're from the United States, you can also enroll in something called the STEP program through the State Department, which is a really awesome thing to do because you notify the embassy of your trip and it's free and super simple. And of course, if you're going during rainy season, like I suggested, make sure that you're staying hydrated because it does get very, very hot. Guys, so that's really all from me today. Have a great time traveling solo in Kyoto. I wish I was there instead of doing a load of laundry right now, but you have to come back to real life at some point. Have a great time, share your travels with me, and enjoy it. And honestly, if you have any apprehension about going to Kyoto solo, try not to worry about it. You will meet people, I promise you, especially if you get out on some of those guided tours, particularly the food tours, I feel like are really good for meeting people. And just have a wonderful time. Experience the temples, learn about the culture, and let me know how it is when you get back. I would love to hear from you. Happy travel, stay safe out there, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye, guys. Have a good one.